Hello and welcome to Die Hard United, the one stop for FD Manchester United. My name is Jude and I'm here to talk about all the latest concerning Manchester United as we have been waiting to hear what is happening with the sale of the club. This is the 8th or 7th month of the Glazers since the Glazers released the statement that they're going to look at minority or selling the club in terms of investment into the club. Either they're going to take in minority investment or they will explore selling the club as a whole. And this is the 7 months since then, and it's still dead in the waters. And also, I've been hearing about FFP rules, what is happening with the FFP rules. We can't buy players because of FFP rules and different things. For me, I feel the FFP rule is a scam, also by the Glazers, and I also think I can probably predict that the Glazers are going to stay at this club and they're not willing to sell. So let's talk about everything, starting from what led to the Glazers wanting to sell the club. Of course, we know that the club right now needs massive investment in terms of the stadium. Just like Ronaldo said, the training facility is shit. So in terms of the stadium, in terms of training facilities, all those needs massive investment into all those sectors, and also investing in the squad and buying players and everything. So we need urgent investment in those areas because right now the Euros that's going to take place next year, Old Trafford is not among the stadiums that's going to host any of those games, which is a shame. And that is why the Glazers came out in November last year to say, okay, we are either going to sell the club or we'll take in minority investment. And then we got people coming in to put in bids. But of course, up until now, we know that the two major people trying to buy this club is Sheikh Jazim or Jim Ratcliffe. And the last time we got real news concerning the takeover, which was a few weeks back, it was the fact that Qatar placed their fifth bid, and it seemed like they were favored to buy the club. But of course, it has gone silent since then. But I'm going to look to talk about. I think I'm going to talk about this thing from two ways, because the news coming out is the six siblings, four wants to go, two wants to stay. The four that wants to go have never really been they have never really been the ones running the club at all. They have really no affiliation, no business with the club. They just own shares. But the two who wants to stay are Joel and Avram, who are on the thumbnail, the two clowns who have been running this club for the past years, and of course running it very very badly. Those two wants to stay, those other two wants to leave. So what the idea we are getting is that the four that wants to stay wants to cash out and cash out now, and they are leaning towards Qatar. And then the two that wants to stay are leaning towards Shadim Ratcliffe, because Shadim Ratcliffe is enabling them stay by taking around 50% and then leaving them with 20, and then of course the remaining is owned by the New York Stock Exchange and the rest. So that is what is coming out right now. But of course, there have been some legal threats against the Glazers if they choose to go with Sheikh Jazim by the minority shareholders, because if they go with Sajid Ratcliffe, the four siblings cashes out, but the minority stakeholders remain, because of course their shares are now being bought. So it is looking like Qatar is the favorite to win this race. But of course, it's all confusing because after placing their bid 3 weeks ago, we haven't heard anything from that. But you would say, oh, maybe the Glazers are exploring ways to stay, which I think they are. I think they are really, really trying to explore ways to stay, because they definitely do not want to leave. But also, previously we got reports saying the Glazers talked to PSG president El Khalifi, who is also a Qatari. The Glazers went to him and asked him to help talk to Sheikh Jazim to up his bid to something more acceptable. So if they did do that, why would I think that they don't want to sell when they did agree to do that? But like I said, it's six siblings, maybe four. The four did that. The John and Avram were not really part of that, but it's all confusing. But the thing is, we have been waiting for this deal to get done for weeks, and it still hasn't been done. And okay, so in the beginning of the transfer window, in short, since last year, John Mota, our football director, even Richard Arnold came out to say that this summer would be a very difficult summer for us because we have really overspent from last summer. But coming into this summer, it was the consensus or the story was, oh, Man United are being held up by FFP rules, blah 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 blah. But the real truth, the real truth about the FFP rules is that we do not know how to sell players, because if you sell players, you won't be worried about FFP rules. Chelsea spent 600, more than half a billion pounds last year. This year they are selling players they're selling players, and the total worth of those players are selling are around more than 300 million pounds. So that shows you how they are balancing their books. So the problem with United is that we don't really sell players. The last player we sold was Danny James for 25 million pounds. Last year we spent 200 million plus almost 120 million pounds last year, and we were only able to sell one player in James Garner for around, was it 10 to 15 million pounds. So we spent 220 and we brought in only 15. So tell me, why won't there be a FFP restriction? Why won't it be happening? Because fine, in order to comply with the FFP rules, we can spend only 100 million pounds. For example, let's say we can spend only 100 million pounds. If you can sell Harry Maguire for 30 million, then you have 130 million to spend. If you sell McTominay for 30, you have 160. If you sell Dean Henderson for 25, you have 155. And also, talking about their wages, the more you're selling these players, the more you're freeing up your wage budget. David There was earning around 375k per week. We have made more than 20 million. We have saved more than 20 million from terminating his contract. Ronaldo left last year. We also saved a lot of money from him leaving. So these things, there's a workaround to all these things. So just saying we have FFP rules, it is because we are incompetent at selling players. Because it's very, very simple. You have to sell players to balance the books. FFP is all about the money you spend versus your revenue and your expenses. So when you have 120 million to spend to comply with FFP rules, if you're able to raise another 100 million from selling players, you have 200 million to spend. Voila, that's how it is. Because right now, if you sell Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, if you sell Fred, if you sell, and of course this player definitely has to leave anyway. If you sell Alex Telles, if you sell Eric Bailly, if you sell Bernard Williams, you are clearing up, you're making more money. You are adding that, and all of a sudden you have 250 million to spend freely in the summer transfer window. And that is what we have failed to do, because we are so bad at selling players. So the excuse would be that FFP rules is what is holding us. Meanwhile, if you sell players, you can buy players. If you sell Marshall, you can sign a second striker. If you sell McTominay and Fred, you can buy another midfielder. If you sell Harry Maguire, you can buy a new centre back. That is exactly how it is. But of course, the Glazers will lie to you, will tell you, oh, it is FFP rules. Of course, a statement came out today that we are fined around Man United were fined around 300 pounds for breach of FFP rules. Those are not even significant. 300k is nothing, but it was not anything special. It was the new rules were released, but those breach was from during the COVID-19 period, not even right now. So you can see that FFP being a problem is just a small screen. I might see it on internet and I might post it because, of course, you see credible journalists talking about it. Of course, that is what they're getting from the club. But if you think about it honestly, you realize that Chelsea, there's nothing concerning FFP rules with Chelsea. Barcelona are in billions of debt, but they are still buying players. But of course, they know that they have to sell to buy. The same thing with Chelsea. Chelsea are buying players anyhow, but of course, FFP rules is not only for United, it's for everybody. But Chelsea are busy spending money buying players all around the place. Why? Because they knew that they will have to ship out a lot of players, and they're doing that efficiently. Are doing that. They sold Mason Mount to us 55 million pounds. Sold Havertz to Arsenal 65 million pounds. That's already 100 million pure profit. Straight up, balancing the books. You spent 600 pounds, 600 million pounds. You have already sold almost 300 million pounds. And by the time they sell Lukaku and some other players, before you know it, Chelsea have um sold almost 400. So that's a net profit of 200, net spend of 200 million pounds, which is very, very, very fair. But of course, last year, Man United had a net had a net spend of 200 of over 200 million pounds, because we spent 200 million pounds in and only got 15 out. So it all comes down to selling players. So let's see what happens with that, because honestly, the rumors concerning this sale is really, really annoying. All we have to do is just wait. There's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. Maybe at some point something will come out, because I feel if the Glazers are still in charge fully by the first game on the 11th of August, or is it 11th or 12th of August, we have our first game. If they are still in charge, then they'll, of course, things are really, really going to escalate. So I think I'll be right to expect something to come out from now, to come out before we play Wolves in the first game of the Premier League season. Something definitely has to come out. If it's Sigjazim, fine. If it's Shajimakli, fine. But something must happen, because if nothing happens, it's going to be a very, 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 very disturbing situation, because the protests are not going to be funny. I won't be surprised if it is a game being cancelled because of protests or the violence or something, because it's getting frustrating. Even me talking to you right now, I'm really frustrated with this sale. It is really, really annoying. But to think that by the first game of the season, that would be almost 8 months of waiting, or 9 months of waiting for these people to go. That would be sick. But I think something will happen in the next few weeks. We'll definitely get an update if it's going to be Sheikh Jazim, if it's going to Jim Ratcliffe, whoever it is. Let the person come in so we can move on with our lives, because right now this is really, really an hindrance to progress. So we need Eric Ten Hag to know what his January plans can be, because obviously this summer is a Glazer summer. There's no doubt about that. It's a Glazer summer. It should be fully a Glazer summer. Buy to sell to buy, and if you cannot sell players, then you cannot buy players. But we are short of signing at least 3 players, which is Onana, which will be done soon. We have signed Mount, and then a striker, which might be Hoyland. When we do those 3, the rest will be dependent heavily on sale. And of course, we have some Saudi interest in some of our players, which is good. Fred, Tellers, maybe even buy. They might come for buy. So let's see what happens with that. But the sad thing about this whole thing is that we have no control over it. It's up to the Glazers to know what they will do in terms of the sale. But hopefully, we just hope that whichever decision they make would be the one we want. Of course, they don't think about us, but if they choose Sheikh Jazim, then probably it's because his offer was really, really good, and they want to cash out. If they choose Sajid Ratcliffe, it's because they want to stay and make money from the club. And honestly, the Sajid Ratcliffe method to buy the club is really, really, really annoying, because he hasn't told us what he's going to do with this club. But there's nothing we can do about it. That is not the end of. That's just the main thing. So to summarize everything, there's no real concrete news concerning the sale. We are still waiting for the Glazers. We can't do anything about it other than to wait, and hopefully this does not extend to the start of the season. Hopefully before the start of the season, we'll know if they're choosing somebody and are working with the person. Then the Premier League can do their checks. The UEFA can do their checks, and we'll know that we are going to be bought by a particular person. FFP is a scam, because if we're able to sell players, we can buy players. So there's nothing like FFP restricting us, because if you can raise 100 million to add to the 100 million you have already, then you can spend money in the transfer market. And of course, there are players that we could be able to push out. It's easy. There's Fred, there's McTominay, there's Maguire, there's Dean Henderson. We can make money from these players. We can make over 100 million from these players and invest in the transfer market. So FFP is a scam. Sell If you sell players, you buy players. Look at Chelsea, like I said. But of course, the downside is that we're bad at selling players, so it's really, really we can't put our trust on these guys. They definitely can't sell everybody. So let's see what happens with that. But that's what the thing is. Just fingers crossed. These leeches, these clowns are ready to leave this club and leave us in peace. But that's all for now. This is just me talking and ranting. But I hope you get something from this video, because trust me, anytime they tell you about FFP rules, just remember Chelsea. That's just it. Remember Chelsea, and you tell yourself that as a scam. It's a Glazers way of telling you we don't want to spend money, don't expect us to spend any extra money. But that is just it. So my name is Jude. This is 990, the one stop for everything Manchester United. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe to this channel. Click on that notification bell, so whenever I post a new video, you'll be alerted. And also like this video, so like this video can be pushed to as many United fans as possible. And I will see you all on the next one.